It's wonderful to be here, and I have some formal remarks which I want to make, but I want to just say this. Thank you, Pembina, for being such a great partner, and thank you, all of you allies who have supported Pembina over the years. It's terrific to be here, and thank you for inviting me. We're all here gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit as a big family, and I loved the way it was hard to get the attention, because you know what, at formal galas often it's not, because everybody's sitting there at these tables, but this is great. And I've been in politics for over a decade now, but I've never been to an unGala. I've been to lots of galas, so thank you very much for inviting me to this one. And I know my team members who are here have been introduced. Arthur Potts, MPP for Beaches, and Glenn. I just want to say how thrilled I am. You mentioned we have a Minister of the Environment and Climate Change, Ed, to have Glenn in that role. It's just a wonderful thing. So Glenn, thank you. And our Minister of Transportation actually did show up. There he is, Stephen Del Duca. He's right there. Where's your hat, Steve? I've got mine on my back. I'm of the Dale Evans school of... I could sing Happy Trails, but I won't do that. So we are working very hard. As Ed said, we're working on a number of fronts. And yesterday I gave a speech about the future of our federation, and I talked at Canada 2020 in Ottawa, of course about Ontario, but I talked about the country. And I was arguing for a new economic union. In doing that, I looked ahead through the lens of infrastructure, because I think that infrastructure is such an important part of what we have to do. And I also looked backwards to draw some inspiration from transformative moments in Canadian history. And I mention that because it has me thinking about Canada's past. I think the fact that we're celebrating Sir John A. Macdonald's 200th birthday, it sort of has made me think about who we are as a federation, and the fact that we're in a federal election year has got me thinking about what's the future of the federation. And in the same way, thinking about the celebration of Pembina's Alberta roots and Ontario activism has got me thinking about that in a national way, and about the bold ideas that capture the aspirations of our nation and then transform us so that the next generation can prosper in ways that we can't yet fully imagine. But we need to think about how those transformations are represented by different parts of our country at different points in time. And I think Chris was speaking to this in some ways. So if I look back, Charlottetown symbolizes Canada's first transformation from a group of colonies to a nation with an emerging sense of itself. As the birthplace of Medicare, Saskatchewan would come to symbolize Canada's new social union of the 1960s. And later still, Toronto came to symbolize how Canada was transforming at the end of the 21st century into an established global player and a society embracing a new multiculturalism. And I think more recently, as a nation, we looked west. Alberta became the mantle of Canada's aspirations. And the narrative that developed in which our future prosperity came from the exploitation of energy resources was a powerful one. But then as Alberta began to develop its energy resources, the devastating leak of sour gas that prompted a small group of citizens to look further down the field led to a different kind of transformation. They began to ask questions and produce the research that could compete with this dominant narrative that Canada's future prosperity was dependent on our becoming a fossil fuel superpower. And of course, here I'm talking about Pembina and the work that Pembina did to seize that moment. In 3 decades, Pembina's Alberta roots have spread across provincial boundaries to articulate a clean energy vision for Canada, and to thrive in the decades ahead. A balanced way forward that many now agree is the way forward for our country. Now, my understanding is Pembina has only 50 full-time staff, but you have the ears of government across the country. Your talents are sought by businesses from big oil to micro hydro, and that's the diversity that's in this room. And you have the respect of the environmental community. Through your important work, Pembina educates the public, builds consensus, and holds the private sector and governments to account. And we appreciate that deeply. Thank you. So tonight, I want to celebrate Pembina's Alberta roots and its accomplishments here in Ontario by giving some really concrete examples of how Pembina's advocacy has led to government action. Because here in Ontario, we are building for a clean energy future. Since 2003, we've invested more than $21 billion in public transit in Ontario, including nearly $11 billion in GO Transit. And right now, there are over $16 billion worth of transit expansion and improvement projects underway in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. These projects include the Union Pearson Express, which will open later this year, the 19-kilometer Eglinton Crosstown LRT, the single largest transit expansion in Toronto's history, the University Spadina subway extension, and then we have the Ottawa Confederation Line LRT, the Waterloo Rapid Transit, and more than 150 kilometers of bus rapid transit in York, Brampton, Durham, and Mississauga. So parts of these projects are already in service. These investments are having an impact in people's lives and helping our province in the fight against climate change. In 2013, there was an increase of more than 204 million passenger trips on municipal transit systems compared to 2003. And over the last 10 years, our transit investments have helped remove approximately 170 million car trips from the road. As Ontario tackles the dual challenges of gridlock and emissions, the work of Pembina has been an enormous help. You have pushed us, you have partnered with us, you have prodded us, and we are grateful to you for that. Thank you. And Cherise Burda sat on my Transit Investment Strategy Advisory Panel led by Ann Golden and vice-chaired by Paul Bedford. And I want to thank Cherise and the whole panel for the extensive work that they did, because their final report informed the design and the funding of the Moving Ontario Forward, which is at the core of Stephen Del Duca's mandate letter. And it's a new commitment to build transit and build a cleaner, more productive economy over the next 10 years. And that was, in turn, the centerpiece of our government's 2014 budget. Moving Ontario Forward sets aside an additional $29 billion over 10 years, up to $15 billion of which is for the priority rapid transit projects in the Greater Toronto-Hamilton area, and $14 billion for transportation projects outside of the Greater Toronto-Hamilton area. A big part of this will be our plan to transform the GO network to deliver something that we're calling Regional Express Rail. Faster and more frequent, electrified, all-day, two-way service on the GO Rail network, which I think will go a long way to address some of the issues that are in the report that came out today about where people live, the decisions they make, and the calculus that goes into making those decisions. Combined with our review of the growth plan happening later this year, we've got before us a chance to truly plan for walkable and transit-accessible cities and suburbs. In fact, with the last of Ontario's coal-fired power plants, we know that transportation is something that we have to tackle. Our move away from coal toward a clean energy future stands as the single largest climate change initiative in North America to date, which helped to curb the carbon emissions of the entire country. And in fact, I would contend that Prime Minister Harper rides on our laurels when he talks about the progress that we've made. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to rest on our laurels. We're encouraged by this achievement, and we're aided by Pembina's research and advocacy, but we know we need to do more. We know that climate change is here. We know that increasingly extreme weather is costing our economy in absolute dollars, and at the same time inflicting absolute hardship in people's lives. Now, somebody was saying to me earlier that they were feeling a bit despairing because they've been working at this for years and years and they're not sure that the message has gotten through. I just want to say that as someone who has not worked in this particular field for 40 years, I believe that the work that you have all done has built a platform upon which we now can seize this particular moment because people see. People see what is happening. The changes are real, and I think that you've allowed us, all the work that you have done has allowed us as government and private and public sector entities to make the arguments for carbon pricing, to make the arguments for infrastructure investments. So your work has been absolutely foundational to what we can do now. So thank you for that. We know that, yes, it's true. We know that our kids and our grandkids need us to act with urgency, and I would suggest that our kids and our grandkids, I just did a tour for the last 10 days of campuses, college and university campuses. Those young people are there. They are looking to us, and yes, they were asking me about tuition, and they were asking me about a whole range of issues to do with their employability and their job prospects, but they also were asking us about infrastructure. They were asking me about the environment. They know exactly what it is that we should be doing, and we owe it to them to get on with it. So we know that climate change is it's just not a cost to be avoided. A proactive approach that mitigates emissions by investing in a clean energy future and adapts to our changing climate by investing in resilient infrastructure will create real and sizable economic opportunities for Canadians. And the 2013 Pembina report that observes that the global clean technology market is predicted to grow to $3 trillion by 2020. But right now, Canada has only 1% of what today is a $1 trillion market. So in Ontario, we want to be part of the clean economy. We want to help with solutions to climate change and at the same time harness the money and jobs that come with it. The opportunities here, and we have the capacity to lead. So I had the opportunity today to speak earlier with the Chinese-Canadian Business Council, and I talked about the conversations that I had when I was on my trade mission in China. There are opportunities here, there are opportunities around the world for the kind of knowledge and technology that we have. So we're going to create together a clean energy future that transforms Canada's aspirations and creates opportunities for people to live better today and to live better in the future. Thank you so much for your part in that. Merci, miigwech.